When I first saw the Notebook 9 pen at CES, it seemed like a curiosity, but one with a lot of potential. After all, this is just one of a few Samsung Windows machines with the S Pen, and I was looking forward to seeing how well it worked with an actual laptop. The Notebook 9 Pen turned out to be a remarkably portable Galaxy Note laptop hybrid, but it did leave me with one burning question. Does anyone actually need this thing? As with the Galaxy Note itself, the answer for most people is a pretty resounding no. I've been trying to lighten the load I regularly carry, so for me, the Notebook 9 Pen's biggest draw was its weight, 2.2 pounds thanks to its Metal 12 construction. Oh, right, sorry. Metal 12 is a magnesium aluminum alloy Samsung built for durable, lightweight machines, and while it kind of flexes the way plastic does, it held up to the few drops and the hell that is my backpack without trouble. That said, the Notebook 9 Pen is a pretty boring looking machine. It's just straight silver gray as far as the eye can see, with only a shiny Samsung logo on the back of the screen to break things up a bit. This is obviously a personal preference, and your mileage might vary, but yeah, unremarkable all the way. Similarly disappointing is the port selection here. All you get is one full-size USB 3.0 port, an HDMI out, a USB-C port, and a tiny slot for a microSD card. These will be enough for some, but they're definitely not enough for me. I had to scrounge up some dongles and USB hubs just to get by. Other design decisions were just annoying. Samsung stuck the notebook's power button on the right side just to the left of the microSD slot, and since it takes very little pressure to press that button, I accidentally put the machine to sleep a few times while trying to pick it up. And while the S Pen works once you remove it from the notebook's body, just getting it out can be tricky sometimes. If the Notebook 9 Pen is sitting on top of a desk, it's basically impossible to remove the S Pen without having to lift the machine up by its keyboard. A small notch carved into the end of the S Pen is literally all it would have taken to fix this problem, but apparently Samsung either didn't notice or it didn't care. The Notebook 9 Pen isn't all bad though. The built-in fingerprint sensor works impeccably well, and I quite like its placement directly beneath the enter key. I'm also a big fan of this keyboard. The level of key travel feels great, and the spacing I found was spot on too. Even the trackpad was a pleasant surprise, even though it was just a little too easy to nudge with the palm of my hand while typing. I don't mind this 13-inch screen either. It's plenty bright for use outdoors, and colors came through with quite a bit of verve. Clarity was solid too, especially considering this is just a 1080p screen. You could find a better screen for roughly the same amount of money, but Samsung's panel is definitely decent. Despite its weird design quirks, the Notebook 9 Pen turned out to be a pretty solid little workhorse. Our review unit leans on an 8th generation Intel Core i7-8550U processor, 8GB of RAM, and a 256GB SSD. While the port selection left me high and dry, the machine's actual performance didn't. My usual workday consists of dozens of Chrome tabs and lots of Photoshop work, and even sometimes a little light gaming, all things the Notebook 9 Pen handled without breaking a sweat. You can expect the battery to go for about 10 hours on a single charge too, but on days when I did a lot of work in Photoshop or Premiere, that figure was more like 5 to 6 hours. Just like with its smartphones, Samsung added a bunch of its own apps to complement the stuff that comes in Windows 10. And to my surprise, a lot of it was very useful. Recorder Plus serves as a one-stop shop for all your voice recordings, which made a week's worth of recorded interviews and phone calls really easy to mark up. And then there's the Samsung Settings app, which offers easy access to a number of options that would normally be a little more difficult to find. Want to tweak your display's colors or toggle HDR for videos? Samsung's Settings app should be the first place you look. Now, about the S Pen. If you've used a Galaxy Note within the past few years, Samsung's Air command will look very familiar. Once you remove the pen, you're given shortcuts for note-taking and doodling on top of screenshots, and even extending your view across multiple displays. You can even use the S Pen to capture areas of the screen to turn into GIFs, which I spent a little more time doing than I care to admit. And as always, if you need to access those commands again, a quick click on the S Pen's button does the trick. Just remember that the pen has to be within millimeters of the screen for this to work. The S Pen doesn't seem quite as precise as Microsoft's Surface Pen, but it's actually still excellent for jotting down notes and hashing out quick sketches. More importantly, the pen itself is passive, so you never have to worry about charging or swapping out a battery. I'm liable to ditch accessories entirely once they become even a little inconvenient, but the S Pen was always there and ready to be used. That it works as well as it does on top of all that makes the whole thing feel much more like a proper, valuable tool than a gimmick. In the end, the Notebook 9 Pen is a solid little machine with perhaps a few too many quirks. I can't complain much about its performance or battery life, and it handled just about everything I threw at it without an issue. It does, however, feature a handful of puzzling design decisions that could have been avoided if Samsung approached this machine more thoughtfully. For students and for would-be artists and avid note-takers, the Notebook 9 pen is definitely worth a look. Everyone else, though, shouldn't feel too bad about skipping this one.